Stream sniped for chess. Nah, like, why did everybody I play, why were they all Smurfs? That's so weird. There's nobody actually that bad. There's nobody actually 100 elo. It's all just people, like, trying to get the Grandmaster as fast as they can. Okay, I'm not saying the people who beat me would have to be Grandmaster to beat me. But why do they know specific fucking... No. Like, they have fucking chess books. How am I supposed to compete with that? Fight Mog like a game of chess. You should be banned for saying that. There's no 23 elo rating for you. That's the problem. What do you mean? Well, then I'll just have to play with Pumpkin or something. 23 is generous. I mean, I've won games of chess before. Like, at like 150 or 180. It's just like... Who the fuck is playing chess on their phone on a weekend? Unless you really, really want to play chess. You know? Oh, for fuck's sake, I forgot I was here. Oh my god. How many runes I lost. Well, none, because I'd already died. So here was where I was supposed to go. Starving isolated culture in a remote area would beat you. Yeah, okay. You have to play with a constant backseater. Well, I wasn't listening to anything anyone said last game and I won, but I came out, so I don't know. It's fine, I just won't stream chess again. Ever, ever, ever again. No, I'm going out, so won't be doing that. My audio just broke. Fucker. Bitch! Like, leave the fucking jellyfish alone, he hasn't done anything to you! I used the wrong fucking flask. You need to not see spoilers. Yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. I should have said something. I already did, Miguel. Triple heal. What? I killed him. Yeah, whatever. Just so you know, that would usually be counted. Well, the pumpkin fought Radon with all the songs. I didn't. Saying. But she is better. Well, I'm just saying, she did use a song. She used all of the fucking, she summoned all the dudes in Radon's fight. You can summon the pot, you can summon the wolf, you can summon the other guy, the one that I killed because I hate him because he's weird to me. Stay away! Fuck! Yeah, okay. He's almost fucking full health again. Funny boss. I love this boss. It's so fun. He was waiting for me, and now he's killing my jellyfish. You are beyond overleveled. Have you ever heard someone say, if you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say anything at all? And dying to fucking Mog. It's the second Mog, not the first one. I killed the first one. This is Twitch chat. Or a loser. Yeah, I didn't have any souls though, because I haven't been leveling up for ages. I'm not even 60 vigor yet. Everybody said Mog is hard. Probably not as hard as I'm finding him. Well, like, they still don't say it's easy. Shut up. I'll get him. I've gotten so close to killing him so many times, I just don't really know how to fucking dodge his, this shit. Like, I need to fucking lock him. Stop spamming roll. It's not gonna do anything. Yep. I don't know how to dodge him. He just attacks randomly. Okay. Up-and-coming DJ streamer Ritz69 mysteriously dies in a bar accident with darts. I got an oracle from the future. I wonder what that means or how that happens. Man, I'm not fucking reading chat anymore. You guys are so useless. Imagine if in the Olympics, people were just saying, you fucking suck, you're so bad, to the one at the back of the race. Imagine. Those would help. In fact, I think I'm playing worse now. And it's your fault. Look, it's your fault. Just actually unbind all movement and only use rolls. Walk more, roll less. Look, I'm locked on. I can only walk in one direction. I can't move the camera. Less lion's claw. Yeah, I know, but it's so fun. I mean, yeah, I know I have to do less of it, like I'm just trolling. I almost killed him. I killed him at the same time. He started doing his little fucking monologue after he died. And it didn't fucking give me the runes or anything. Bastard. What are you fucking doing? If you want poise damage, then use barbaric roar. No, because I kept accidentally using the charged attack. Or just use grafted greatsword. That sword is so fucking shit at this point in the game because you can't dodge at all. You actually just can't dodge unless you know how to. Unless you have completely and utterly memorized every single attack animation in the game. There is no way you can use the grafted greatsword with the amount of stamina it uses. Well, unless I want to fucking fight it for like 9 hours, which I'm not going to do because I'm not patient enough. I want to kill it as soon as I possibly can. I want to hit it as much as I possibly can. You should have by now. No one's asking you. You have like the least channel points. No one's listening. You are not that good at counting. You do not know. Okay? If you did count, then you counted without my permission. You're not allowed to fucking count how many attempts I take. You're not. If you want to, then you should put it up on the screen. How do I get it so that you can control OBS? Because that would be helpful, at least. Could be interesting. Channel point farm through slot machines. Well, I'm not gambling right now. Usually everybody just ignores the gambling anyway, so. But I know you wouldn't. You force them to. So I lost so many channel points. Like, for some reason, I just wanted to gamble yesterday, and I was like, you know what? I think he'll beat the game today. But he did not, and I lost 5,000 channel points. I was like, I'll get 5 million. If I'm right. Do you want a tutorial? What do you mean? No. I literally already killed this guy, but I died at the same time, so it didn't count. It should have counted. It usually counts. What I'm saying. Oh my god! Oh, it's bottom. You can craft a tutorial that'll get ignored 10 seconds in. I believe in you. I bet I'll upload it. Well, if you actually want to. Like, you could do anything to improve your channel points anyway. You could make me draw stuff in MS Paint for hours if you wanted to. Why is Alexander so heavy? So heavy. Like, why? Why am I actually so so fucking heavy? $10K, fuck! Oh my god. Wait, can I? You must G match it. What is G match? Match it. Okay, go ahead. I already know who's voted no. Like, I already know exactly. I don't even have to check. I don't even think I can, but I know. I know who the haters are. I know who the believers and haters are. Why do I have 3 of these? Like, okay, I don't remember what I had before. I didn't skip myself. What did I fucking have? Oh, yeah, it was this. Oh my god, she looks so fucking ugly right now. But I gotta have that poise. Squid, please win. Yeah, and what are you gonna do with the payout? What are you gonna do with the payout? Oh no, I need to pause, My sleeve is uncomfortable. My sleeve is like rolled into my other sleeve. I don't like it. I don't fucking like it. I'm rolling it up. I hate it. Oh, he's coming. Fuck, he's coming. Okay, lock in time. Oh wait, I'm gonna do the... Stop taking damage! Oh my god! Look at the jellyfish. Look, it's baby sensory. Look at the jellyfish. He's Uno-sing. I gotta fucking drink the lean. Evil motherfucker. He just hates jellyfish. He hates nature because... No. What? I was full! Did I get one shot by the fire? It's okay, it's 15 attempts. Blood loss? it didn't tell me I had blood loss, I just died to it. I was staring up at him in the sky, so I couldn't see. Oh my god, this is so embarrassing. If I beat him, I'm gonna have pickles. Deep fried pickles. One attempt. Where's my thingamajig? Tunnel visioned all my jellyfish so bad this game. Eat. Heal. Don't do that. Fucking heal yourself, you dumbass. Thank you. Oh, he killed my jellyfish, so now I don't have a distraction anymore. Fucking stupid motherfucker. I hate him. He's literally a femboy fart huffer. He's disgusting. I fucking hate him. I hate him so much. But that being questioned is exactly why you shouldn't bet yes. Yeah, he fucking... I could use the mimic tier, but then that's not fair to the people who voted no. He just locked in and he just killed the jellyfish. You're hopping out of the stream in 42 minutes anyways. I hope all your stocks also crash. Well, actually. Well, that just means that my life is unlucky. Yeah. You know, if all your stocks are up and then you just betted no, it means like, based on statistics. No. Leave him alone. Leave him alone, you motherfucker. Oh my God. Eat. Shit, he's unnocing. I gotta fucking eat my lean. Need your gigafoot. Well, I believe the good will triumph over evil. Either way, you're the evil one in the situation. He just fucking hates jellyfish! It's because you betted. It's because you betted. Like, he didn't used to do this to my jellyfish. He used to not give a shit. And now, I'm the good because I can beat Mog. Like, you have fucking Parkinson's disease. Like, you're just a troll. You're just a troll. You just had to give up on using your body to play video games, and you have to just use your brain instead. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm saying it makes you more of a troll, because when we play Deadlock, and then you run magic carpet, all green items, and you're unkillable, if you played like that in a streamer's game, you'd have an entire YouTube video about you. It's just insane trolling. That's 3. Yeah, well, I'm just saying. The pen beats the sword or whatever. Brain beats the bicep. Just make no one's ever said that. It works so everyone else shit. Yeah, you're right, but like, Deadlock's kind of unplayable until there's more people playing it anyway. No, I can't. There's shift. Bam! Boom. You know, if you hadn't said that. Yeah, that was good. See, I love positive people. Unfortunately, my time is running out. Like, after 15, I probably won't be able to play anymore because, I've got to go out and eat deep fried pickles. Although, you know, maybe I don't get to have deep fried pickles if I don't beat them all. Like, maybe I need to think about the pickles. Like, there's more at stake than just defending my honor on Twitch. I have to get the pickles. Imagine if I fucking eat him after saying that. I'm just officially the fattest bitch in the whole fucking world. Oh my god. Leave my jellyfish alone, motherfucker. Get away from him. Get the fuck away from him. Move them wrong. How delicious that would be. Yeah, they're like cheese and pickles, like deep fried. And like I probably shouldn't eat them because they have gluten in them. But you know what? Like, what doesn't have gluten? I'm stuck. I didn't ignore it. You just didn't fucking listen. Viscous is actually good, by the way, like broken good. Wait, really? Wait. Oh my fucking god, I thought he was gonna come back. Yeah, I did when I screamed pickle. That's so embarrassing! Like, I'm like, oh my god, if I beat him, I get to be deep fried pickles. You fat fuck. Like, why couldn't you beat him any other fucking time? Had to be when I say that. Rip your points. Yeah, rip your fucking points. You're a hater. You deserve them. Yeah, I do deserve it. I beat him. Guessing I should do Vigor. Not completely. No, I still have a whole bunch. Who the fuck is that? I'm gonna level up again. Oh yeah, let me do the... There you go. $25K! Oh my fucking god. It's insane. I mean, I killed him before. He literally died, and then I died right afterwards. Usually that would count, and you would get the shit for killing him. if you die at the same time, or it didn't. He has a yeah, that's probably why it didn't work. I've died at the same time as bosses before, and it you know. Do I really need to get to fucking 60 vigor? I don't think so. Like, why can't I get to 70 strength? Also, do you think I can start the... Wait, how do I use this? Oh, I can buy Mog's fucking, outfit, I guess. After 60 vigor, you want to go 80 strength. Ah, okay, I'll just do fucking... Shit, I've got 90k runes. Who the fuck is this?
Were you guided here by kindly Mikula? I am Leda. And like you, I was guided by faith along his honorable path. Touch the withered arm.
Your microphone fucking sucks. Or is it just me?
To the realm of shadow where Mikula the Kind now
Did I turn
dwells.
I might have turned the music up a bit too high.
Like us,
yeah, I beat it.
They have heard kindly Mikula's call.
You're all fucking haters.
You can find them. They are certain to lend you aid.
For fuck's sake. Uh-huh. Yeah, good idea. That is not what he looks like. That is so fucking disrespectful. It's $1 and it's flying away. Why did I give him childbearing hips? Oops. No, but it doesn't look like that either. Very long. Yeah, that's actually. Oh, fuck. And he has a goatee. And he won't let me cut his hair because I cut my hair and it looks like I have a fucking Cinnabon on my head. So, I mean, like, fair. But if I hadn't cut it that badly, I think I was kind of starting to, like... His hair's way more Jewish than that. If he curled his curls properly, he'd look like one of those, like, acidic Jews, you know? Yes. He's so sad, and I don't know what you look like. I can't put you in the sombrero again. Recognizable. You need a haircut, by the way. Like, now that I have bangs that I didn't want to get, everybody should get bangs. I think everybody should have a psychotic episode and fucking cut their own hair. Ugh, he has curls. I have fucking curls! Well... Yeah, I have fucking curly hair too. What? Fuck you. Bangs give me sensory issues. I don't know why you keep saying you're normal. I'm not gonna give him a shirt because like when he's in the house he just walks around naked all the time. So like he's gonna get pants. That's it. And he's very sad. He's really sad. It's a guy thing. Yeah, no, I didn't want bangs, and technically I don't have them because I just keep wetting them and then fucking pushing them back. Look, I saw a picture of Julia Roberts from the 90s and I was like, I want that because she has curly hair and that looks fucking tough. I don't look like you, Julia Roberts, and also I don't know how to cut hair, so it looks fucking awful. Like when it's straight, it looks like this. You don't like seeing guys with curls. Well, I don't like seeing guys with curls when it's like fucking fake. You know, when they permed it. It fucking looks like this when it's straight. It's so fucking bad. It's like the one part of my hair that's like straight for some reason is the part that I cut. It is awful. It is so fucking bad. So I just have to keep putting like shit on it so that it like stays back. Make me look like a jester with a mustache and hat. Yeah, okay. That's a good idea. Oh yeah, and watch this. Look, the magic fucking graphic design. So I really just say that when I'm drawing something really shit in MS Paint. No, what have I done? Oh my god. How has that happened? I need to zoom in. I can't see. Where are my glasses? Well, I don't know where they are. They're in someone else's room. They're not in my room. I don't know why I made you a midget. It just seems appropriate for the 9 finger. Shut up! That's 2 hands. He's rubbing his fucking hands together. Okay. Storm, I've played Scribblio with you. You do not get to say anything. Oh, 5 poggers. You know what? You know what? He owns this shirt. I'm not joking. He owns this shirt in real life. You know what that is? It's a Minecraft creeper, right? I do get to say whatever I want. No, you don't. Anyway, jesters wear shit like this. I'm not coloring it, by the way. I'm sorry. No, it's a Minecraft creeper! He's not gay! What does a creeper look like again? It has a nose and then a creeper's like this. I've offered to buy him a Minecraft shirt and he said no. No, I'm lame. I have no fucking whimsy. Oh, and by the way, his feet are fucking freakish feet. His toes are so fucking long. There's a clip on his Twitch of him playing Reinhardt in Overwatch. Yeah, the creepers do have noses. Hang on. Yes, they do. Yeah, they do. Oh. There we go. I'll post it in the server. But where is actually the final boss? You don't. Yeah, you do. You fucking liar. Yeah. How many hours do you have in Minecraft again? I literally don't. Okay, so, like, who is actually the final boss in Elden Ring?
Come now. Touch the withered arm. I will not be.
Okay. Ew. That's what Matthew's hand. I mean, that's what Richard's hand looks like. Not gonna watch Elden Ring. Have fun, though. Thank you. Radagon. No way! I didn't know that Red Dragon was the final boss. You spoiled it. Dave? Dave is not the final boss. If it's not Red Dragon, this is a fucking gigantic boss, isn't it? Oh my god, it's the Erd Tree. Dave is final boss. Who the fuck is Dave? This is DLC area. Yeah, I need to finish the game. Oh, what the fuck? Oh, what the fuck? Okay, well. I need to leave. Finish the main game? Yeah, I will. Lost. I can't find it. Where's the dude? Oh, okay. Oh, it's over here. It's so tiny. The final boss is your brain. The final boss is your brain. Shut the fuck up. Nobody asked. So where was I last time? I don't remember. Look, everything's called Dragon Temple. So how am I supposed to know where the fuck I was last time? Farum Azula just sucks. It's the worst place in the whole game. Just so cringe. Ah, shit, I dropped something on the floor. No, my trinket. Dave goes and smacks you, kills you, and says, simple as. Yeah, I'll steal this fucking pasty. Like, can you stop? Maybe I have to go down this lift. But not. Dying to fauna. Bro, you felt like fucking Charles Dickens when you said that, didn't you? Dying to fauna. Thou hast perished from the local fauna. And you are not tough. Shut up. Oh yeah, but this dragon is in the way. I have to kill it. Scallywag. Yeah, except Critic is from Canada. I mean, he's from Canada. I don't know why I said it like that. Nobody says it like that. It's not how you say it. Okay, but these birds are fucking annoying though. How many are there? Oh my god. The ancient foreign land released today by Canada. Dude, these birds are actually fucking pissing me off. Like, this is harder than Mog. This is harder than Mog. This is harder than Mog. Like, it's trolling me. I'm gonna run out of fuss before I get to the fucking boss. It's a shot. Shut up. Why can't I fit through here? That's so silly. Lock on into this. Yeah, well, I didn't think that I would need to lock onto a little fucking stupid bird. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think I go down here. I think I just ignore the dragon. It's like a purposeful distraction, you know? Airball. I don't want to die. Okay, I didn't. What's this? I use my Valorant skills for that. Ignoring the fat bird for smaller birds almost killed you. Well, the fat bird, last time I tried to fight him, he just ran away. So, like, yeah, forgive me for not bothering. The same thing happened. Nice AI. Okay, so this is close to where I was before. Wait, no. Wait, maybe this door opens. Balls? Fucking door. Redemption. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like, this is just gonna take me back up. Oh. Why? Yeah, doors. They didn't open. I went to them. They didn't open. Like, I was literally just here. What was the point? Oh, there's a treasure chest. There's a treasure chest. Is this character a self-insert? No, I could not make a character with a chin. I tried. I tried my fucking best, and I couldn't. She kind of looks like me from the front, but she kind of looks like my sister. Yes. Yeah, just wouldn't let me. Also, she's not. She has green. She got red eyes from doing the evil thing. She used to have blue eyes. It's like one of those Greek paint. Yeah, it does. Like, they just don't know how to make fucking, white people in general. Like Japanese games. If you play Dead Rising, all the people in it look so fucking weird. Because it's just like, they have no idea what white people look like. I don't know what I'm supposed to do there. Maybe down there? All the way down, maybe. Oh, I fucking hate open world games so much, you have no idea. Maybe this. No. No, 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 no. It's a dead end. It's a oh my god. Do you like Yellow Page? No. I hate Crucible Knights. Just spend 10k minutes, 100k minutes. What? feel like a fucking homeless person. I just grabbed a piece of cheese from the fridge. Like, I grabbed a piece of cheese from the cheese wheel with my fingers and, like, ripped it off, and I ate it. And then I had a piece of cake with the same method. Because I didn't want to have a big piece of cheese or a big piece of cake. I just wanted a little bit, and I couldn't decide which one I wanted, so I had a small amount of both. I fucking love cheese. I cannot be trusted around cheese. Pocket cheese, no. Shut up. Anyway, I'm completely fucking lost. No! Better than eating fucking candy. At least it has something like protein in it, you know? I think what I have to do is I have to get behind him. And I probably have to go right. But these birds are so annoying. Go down, then down again, and then to the right. Okay. Fucking bird that I hate. That fucking bird that I hate. That fucking bird that I hate. Instructions to his penis. What are you talking about? So fat people don't eat cheese. Fat people eat junk food. Cheese is an acquired taste. I think. Depends what type of cheese it is. Why are they all dead? Kick the baby. Yeah, I will if the piss now. Keep going. Ow! Why is he doing magic? Fuck off. I don't like shit. Get off the map. Off the map. Nice. String cheese. Ew. Oh no. Parkour. Uh-oh. Okay, I gotta be so careful here. Okay, I made it. No way you have boomerangs. Sometimes the game just wants you to die. In a silly way. I've known three fat people in my life, and they all have a cuisine for cheese. Is one of them me? Go through phases where I like cheese and phases where I don't really care. What do you mean, no? Or so then they're so fat that they don't even count as fat by European standards. They count as like a fucking house. Okay. I thought Canada was less fat than America. I guess you guys do have tomato ketchup flavored potato chips, and if those were, I'm telling you, if those were available here, the ruffled ones, oh my fucking god, I'd be 500 pounds, I'm not even joking. I'd actually just be round. I wouldn't even bother, like I just want to eat them all the time. I don't think I could ever get bored of them. I mean, maybe I could if I ate too many of them. American fat. Yeah, well, you see, you know those people who can't move because they have to have a mobility scooter? You don't get people that fat here. And when you do, everybody will stare at them because it's really not normal at all. Like, nobody's that big. Ever. Like, the fattest someone's gonna be here is like, you know, like they still wouldn't need a fucking mobility scooter. Yeah, like you never get people like that. But when we went to Florida, when my family went to Florida, you would just see fucking loads of them. Like, there was loads of those. Like, we went to Walmart and it was insane. Like, it was, I don't know if that's just Florida, but it was really common. Can I just run past him? No, of course I fucking can't. Oh, you motherfucker, he's gonna, I'm gonna get stuck on him for 10 hours! Yeah, kill the DTS. Yeah, just kill him, lol. Where are you looking? Oh, I was just thinking about Walmart and all the fat people. Stop using that. Shut up. Thinking about deep fried pickles. All it does is make you get hit. No, it makes me hit them. Fat is what I define it as, and you're not fat. Well, I appreciate your opinion, even if it's wrong. Ava! Played these games before, motherfucker. Here! Magic! Oh my god, no, he's actually gonna kill me. I'm gonna fucking die. No! Not funny. I needed to run away from his lightning, you motherfucker! Oh my god. Yeah, but that's what you're supposed to do. He does the lightning that chases you. I didn't bring enough pocket cheese upstairs with me for this. But that's okay, because I'm pretty sure it's not good to eat an entire wheel of Camembert cheese, or whatever it's called. I don't care for the French, so I'm not gonna fucking pronounce their stupid cheese names correctly. No offense. You actually I'm going over here. I didn't check over here yet, okay? Well, there's nothing here. Oh, there's a pocket cake. No, not pocket cake. Well, who's Brunel? Brunel? Where is he? Is he over here? I need to get my runes back, so I gotta kill the draconic tree, motherfucker. You know? You know what? I'm gonna summon my jellyfish. But I can't, it's not gonna let me. Get your 12k runes back when it costs like one. No, I had 120k. I think. Just fucking kill it. Oh my god, shut up. You're over leveled to fuck. No, I'm not! You told me I don't have enough vigor yet. Look! Look at my levels. Look at my vigor. I only just got to 57. I'm not 60 yet. You were less far in the game than me, and you were at 60 already. Did I put too much fucking things in endurance or something? Okay, I probably did because you're fucking naked, because you're a pervert. Boons the goblins. Oh my god, my sword is gone. I just kicked him in the front. Maybe this will. anti-immune right now. Motherfucker! Die! Bring this. Bring. Bring. He's so close. Wait, that is not 120k runes. That is 12k runes. Oh my god, I lost so many. I think I lost like 90k runes before. Nice, now the DTS can't use Nihil. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna change it. I forgot to change it back. Okay. We should play darts tonight, though. It's gonna be very fun. If the fucking stupid teenagers aren't just hogging it. They're so annoying. Opal Hardtear and Barbed Tear. I'm not using Barbed Tear. That's the one that blows up. I've played these games before. They don't do darts. They do. There was people playing them last time we went, but they were just hogging it because they were all like fucking 18 and cringe. Kind of fucking poser white boys who have to get a perm to get curly hair. By that I mean TikTok people. You know when you look at someone, you can just fucking tell they use TikTok. It's not just because they're aging. You can just fucking tell that they're like fucking... Forsen, oh shit, Forsen's live. Okay, bye guys. I need to watch Forsen play Minecraft. Why would you say that? You actually just distracted me. Like, I thought that was a funny joke, but you actually just got me killed. Fucking asshole. I lost to Forsen. I have barbed. I'm using it, I think. Let me see. Lost to love. Let's see. Hotel this broccoli heart. Hotel. So is this... Yeah, that one's better. And I have the barb. Yes, the barber. Yeah, these are the best. These are the best ones, I think. Hate these broccoli hair people. Yeah, Ritz used to have broccoli hair, but now his hair is less, He's been growing his hair out, and when he lived in Japan, people, a Japanese person said to him, or said about him when he was in a picture, "Wow, are you friends with a rock star?" Because he has like a fucking long curling hair. You keep slandering me. What? Yes, you did. You used to have fucking broccoli hair. I have pictures. When you used to get the worst haircuts ever that were super short. Yeah, you had really fucking curly hair. Now mine's almost curlier than yours. You don't know what the broccoli cut is. Okay, yeah, it's not the same as the broccoli cut, but it did resemble broccoli. The broccoli cut is genuinely dreadful, because it's just obvious that it's a perm. And you stop throwing this, isn't even... It clearly is a boss. It has a fucking boss bar, you liar. Oh wait, it doesn't. Good point. But it has more fucking health than last time. Okay. Forza is actually live now though. 1 hour link said Minecraft, you're hopping over. I wonder what dog shit links he'll watch today. Pedophile videos or racist videos? You can hit him. I was doing so well. You just never heal. I didn't think I needed to. I thought I was fine. Maybe I'm a little bit oh my god, I'm fucking one-handing. That was why. I would have killed him if I wasn't one-handing. Ramadan run. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. So the final boss is up here, right? Copium. So nobody noticed I added a globe emoji. It's really bad though, I need to remake it. It's just terrible and it took me like 2 seconds. It's really funny. Bing, bing, bing. I hate this guy. Unless some of my jellyfish, I don't care. Fucking spamming motherfucker. Shut up! I'm allowed to spam, because I'm the fucking main character in the game. He's not. I am, and he shouldn't fucking be able to. I fucking hate him. I actually fucking hate him. He's such a stupid fucking... Okay, I'm not using Lion's Claw anymore. It just sucks. Like, it's just shit. Oh my god, you're flaming me. I'm so hungry. I literally just ate a piece of cheese. Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I was dodging fine at the start, but then I did just start getting hit by every attack. You're right. Couldn't dodge worse if you tried. Well, maybe I should... I'm not listening to you. You aren't even subscribed. So... DNA sword time. I'm not using that shit. Anyway, it does way less damage. Or do you mean the red one? I would use that. Maybe I might actually use it. No prime. Yeah, he has got prime. I pay for it. I fucking pay for it. Hey, go on, give me my prime. Where's my Amazon Prime sub to myself? Because I'm not allowed to have it on my account. Go on. Where is it? Oh my god, I sound like that fucking... I sound like that streamer who's like, you guys can't even give 5 subs. Can't even give $5. Why am I even streaming? Oh my god, you're so ungrateful. I wish I was that delusional. Honestly, if you have really high self-confidence, even if you are a complete and utter retard, like if you just have high self-confidence, you are just more likely to succeed. Because you're gonna have less bad feelings about yourself, you know? Like, see, for instance, Ritz69 said, so bad. Now, if I had a huge, gigantic ego and massive self-confidence, I would just ignore this. But when people say these things to me, it makes me a little bit sad sometimes. You know, like, sometimes if you flame me, I might just start growing even harder. Maybe I should start asking for donations. Guys, donate, donate, donate. Guys, donate. Ah, no, no. I don't deserve it. My payout is blocked anyway. Oh shit. $50. I just can't get to the void. You rolled 20. I did not. There's no way. I genuinely don't fucking. There's no way you counted. Okay, you're a fucking hater for counting. I'd rather just PayPal if my account even works. No, don't send me any money. I don't deserve it. You did not count. I don't like. Why would you count? Also, that spectacle lost me 3 viewers. 3 people literally just dipped after that because that was so cringe. You know, you can just. You're a fucking liar. I can't. Right? No way. Are you fucking serious? There's no way. But you know what? I mean. Kill him, loser. Weird, he's not here. What are you talking about? Who's not here? 3 Sentinel? Yeah, I killed him. Ooh! Would I really cosplay as someone I hate, though? What are you talking about, though? What do you mean by who's not here? Yeah. Oh, yeah, banned him. I banned him. I thought that might have been who you were talking about. Yeah, I banned him. I can't find my dismounter. Okay, so there's gonna be another boss through here, right? I banned him, but I assume he has an ult or he's watching on fucking incognito. Yeah, it means you're first. Which you deserve to be because he was watching while he was offline as well. Like, I would start up my computer and he would be in the chat, so he obviously just had it open permanently, which is cheating, to be honest. Fucking weirdo. Okay, well... Wait, what? I thought I was helping. Okay. Yep. Oh no, no, you make a heal! Yeah, no, I DM'd you about that. That guy's a weirdo, so we banned him. Yeah. Why do I not get to heal for this fight? Ooh. Well, this is still better. By a lot. You can heal. Yeah, I know, but like I was assuming I would just get automatically healed if I went to a new boss fight, you know? Kind of bullshit. This guy, you can use him to cheese the fucking, the Beast Blaze King, BBK. I can't remember what it stands for. The guy who twerked on me. So he's really strong. How am I supposed to kill him? This is concerning. I want to eat deep fried pickles right now. He's easy as fuck. Oh my god. Twerked. Yeah, the video. The fucking... I put it on YouTube because he just fucking glitched the fuck out. In my opinion, it's like, oh, he's throwing rocks at me! Oh, it's like the kind of video that you see and it's like got a load and loads and loads and loads and loads of views, right? Because it's like, oh, lol, funny glitch. But no one cares about my video. That's 4 seconds. If I could replicate the glitch, I think it might be able to be used to cheese him, but there's other ways to cheese him, so it doesn't really matter. Unfortunately, I didn't find anything so cool. Yeah. If only I'd found something so amazing, like a fucking scientist in the jungle. This guy, what the fuck just happened to me? Did you see that? Did you see that? Did you see that? What the fuck? He just Sigma ulted me like that. My body just bounced like a bouncy ball. I'm gonna watch that, but I'm gonna have the fucking clip muted because I don't want to hear the noise I just made. What the fuck? I just bounced like a bouncy ball when he killed me. Fuck! Yeah, what the fuck was that? Dude, what? This boss is buggy as fuck. He like did a throw attack on me. He did down grab. It was like a Donkey Kong move. I wonder if I can parry him. I don't think I'll ever learn how to parry. I think it's too late. It's too late in the playthrough to even bother with fucking parries. I need more coffee. And I need cheese. Imagine lying. Imagine lying to a disabled woman. Sorry, let's victimize myself more, shall I? She's not easy, you're a fucking liar. He takes so much. Yeah, I know, and he moves around like he's on fucking crack cocaine. He's like a fucking, he's like a Labrador that found cheese. This is how my dog acts when you try to take a tissue off her. Because she'll steal tissues from the tissue box and then she just runs away with them and then tries to eat them. You have to chase her around the room and try to get it out of her mouth. Oh, it's gonna take me ages. Or I could just use the funny sword. No, I shouldn't. It's skillless. It just way too much damage. Me and my jellyfish, we've got this. Whoops. Cola. Cola break. Don't put it in. Do not put it in the fucking coffee cup. It's gonna taste like shit. Okay. Oh my god, I'm so good at pouring things. Genius. Stop dying. Oh wow, thanks for the fucking input. You're so helpful. I should have just fucking skipped the Draconic Tree Sentinel and went straight to this guy because he's way fucking harder. Sippy cup? No, not a sippy cup. Not a fucking sippy cup. God. Keep tanking everything. Actually, that's a good. Yeah, whatever. I am just getting unlucky. I don't give a shit. This guy sucks. This boss sucks. Okay. I'm gonna use some strategies. Okay. The game gives me these options so that I can use them. Yes, I can't find my sword. No, it doesn't matter. Okay, look. Equipment. I will be using a volcano pot. I don't care. It doesn't mean it's cheating. The game gives me this option. You're fucking keck Wing, but this is my first ever Souls game. And when I play Dark Souls, I'm gonna mug everyone. Because everyone's gonna be like, oh wow, she's gonna be so bad at Dark Souls, but I'm probably not gonna be that bad at it. Bro is handicapping. How am I handicapping myself? Oh wait, hang on. I'm a heavy load right now. Also, someone on TikTok told me to get, what was it? I can't remember his name. Fuck, I can't remember his name. I actually can't remember his name. Morgott's Great Rune instead of Rykard. They told me I'm trolling because I'm using Rykard's Great Rune. How the fuck do I get the other ones? Like, where are they? Is there not just a shop I can buy them at? I mean, you don't even use rune arcs anyway. What do you mean? Why would I need to? I need more stamina. I should have... Okay, I'm gonna use a larval tear. I'm gonna go use a larval tear because... Well, that's kind of tough, actually. Holy shit. Why do I... Oh, why am I so heavy? Just because I tried to give my character a huge ass, now I have to suffer the consequences for it. Which is not fucking fair. Those are what activate the Great Rune buffs. Wait, really? Okay. I'm actually way too fucking heavy. Oh, this works. Okay, but then my poise is 70. Ooh. God, she looks so fucking obese right now. I'm so sorry. Why am I not allowed aura? Like, why do I have to look like shit? It's just not fair. Just because I want to use this weapon. Great runes only change the effect of rune arcs. Well, I don't know, someone flamed me on TikTok because I was using Rycards, and apparently Rycards is fucking dog shit. I mean, I just had it equipped because it gave me the option to have it. You watching Invincible? Oh yeah, I actually will be watching that. I'm caught up with it, and I know that the new season's come out, so I will be watching it. I've been trying to get Ritz to watch it with me, but he doesn't want to because he's like, I think superheroes are lame. And then he watches an anime show about a bunch of teenagers who start a band. So I'm like, superheroes aren't like they're awesome. Well, those huge towers are. Yeah, I know, I've done that. Like, I fought the fucking obese guy in Caelid in that tower. There wasn't any rune art. Like, there wasn't any rune thing in. I swear. Boo Ritz. Well, I mean, if the Great Rune doesn't work, if you don't have a fucking rune arc, then I guess it's not useful at all, because who the fuck is using a rune arc mid-fight? Nobody's doing that. I need to take a shower. Is it Bocchi the Rock? Bocchi. Yes, it's Bocchi the Rock. I mean, it's not bad. I just can't watch shows about, like, fucking... I can't watch shows about 15-year-olds when I'm over 10 years older than them. It's like, teenagers don't fucking act like that. Like, they're way more fucking retarded. They start drama over anything because they misunderstand each other and get upset over anything. They're so sensitive. The main character, if it was realistic, she would actually have no friends. Nobody would like her, no one would give her the fucking time of day. If it was actually realistic, like, she would just be completely fucking bullied because of how she acted. But even if she was so good at the guitar, like, realistically, it's just, like, teenagers don't act like that. It's fine, it's just a show, but I don't know, I just can't watch stuff about school. It's like, I don't go to school anymore. I don't want to go to school anymore. I'm so glad I don't go to school anymore. Like, God. Use it before the fight. Shit, really? But should I go get it then? I think I've been there a lot. Look, I'm pretty sure I've been here. Look, it's the big, big, big tower in Caelid, right? Divine Tower of Caelid, right? Is it at the top of here? Or... I mean, I don't know. Is it this one? Maybe. I fucking hate open world games so much. I'm gonna play GTA. When I've finished Elden Ring, I'm gonna play GTA. Or play Half-Life 2. But I doubt Half-Life 2 because so far it's even fucking harder than Half-Life 1. I am gonna have the worst time ever with GTA. Like, any of them. I'm just gonna die. I'm gonna hate it. Because I can't fucking find my way around streets in real life. It's gonna be awful. I think it's here. That doesn't look big enough. Like, maybe it's here. I'm gonna see if there's a thing up at the top of here. Oh, I thought that was a hole. Yeah, whatever. No one likes that. Oh? No, that didn't do anything. GTA San Andreas? Well, obviously I'd play that one first, or I'd play any of them really, but I have GTA 5. I don't think I ever bought it. I think at one point it was just free on Epic Games and I got it. Because I've played 5M before, but I never actually played the full game. I mean, really, I should finish... Really, I should just finish, I think it's that one. No way. No, can't be that because... I fucking hate this. Like, what do you mean there's a giant tower? There fucking isn't. Smell. Oh, fuck. Yeah, I'd play San Andreas. Like, that one looks fun. But then I'd obviously play GTA 5 afterwards. I don't like open world games. Like, I'm just not good at exploring. I'm not good at finding my way around. There's no fucking giant tower in Caelid. Unless it's this tiny one here. Fucking hate this game. Maybe it's over the fucking giant, like, hole. Okay, let me look in the direction that it is. Like, this is the hardest fucking part of the game. So I'm looking here. Looking here. Okay, I'm looking at it. I don't see a giant tower on my screen right now. Do you see the giant tower with the Great Rune in it? I don't. Shit. Wait, is it this one? We need a copy. It can't be that. I've already been there. That's this one. Oh my god, like I'm actually just lost. I don't know how to get it. Hola, soy Dora! My sister was obsessed with Dora the Explorer when she was like 5. We had to fucking watch that shit every fucking day. No, I think she was 4. I must have been like 8. Like, we had to watch that shit every fucking day. It was unbearable. And like, she didn't gain sentience until she was like 10. So I know she wasn't fucking learning anything from it. I think she just liked the show. Like, she just thought it was actually entertaining. But I don't like how that bitch asks rhetorical questions. I really don't like that. Just stare at the screen. Pissed me off. I mean, I like Dora when I'm dead. Oh my god. I liked Dora when I was really young, but I guess like by the time my sister started watching it non-stop, I didn't like it anymore, you know? Like, why are you saying question marks? How was I supposed to know that hole was that deep? Why would it be? Like, what? Why would they make a ladder that you have to go down for 10 minutes to get to the bottom? I know there's a ladder. I didn't think the ladder would be that long. Do you know where the mountain is? See? What did she say? Oh shit. Oh shit. No! Get on the ladder! Dora, help me! Please, Dora! If you can hear me, please save me. Dora, please save me. I missed the ladder! Swiper no swiping. Yeah, my sister really liked Swiper. I don't know how she didn't grow up to be a furry, but she didn't, somehow. Because she also played Animal Jam and she read Warrior Cats, so like, she should have become a furry. Like, that's what most people who are furries now were into. It descend. Okay, I'm not gonna fuck it up this time. I'm fine. Anyway, I have to go up, not down. Do you think he's gonna kill himself if I stand here? Thundercats. Yeah, I think I mean, no, she's too young for that. I think even I was too young for that. I think there was a reboot on, like, in, like, the late 2010s, though, at some point. You may have watched that. It does sound familiar. I'm gonna die. I'm going to die. Where do I get the Great Rune of Morgoth? Morgoth. Where the fuck do I get it from? This isn't funny anymore. I need to just get it. This game pisses me off so much. Oh, why do you have Raycard's Great Rune? It's so bad. Oh yeah, maybe because there wasn't any part of the game where it told me, oh, I can get another one if I want. Oh, the giant tower on Caelid. Bitch, where? Which one? This is the one that's called a tower. That's the big one. Are you talking about this? Is this little stupid fucking hole? Is that a tower? Yeah, they made them look like twigs. That probably just made things worse, honestly. Go to all the Divine Towers. I've been to all of them! I did go to the fucking top. Look. Look. Look, look, retard, look. Look. No, I was told that the one I want is in fucking Caelid. But there's no stairs up. I guess there is stairs up, but that's not... I've beat up these before. Probably. I mean, if I haven't, that's kind of embarrassing. Look! There's no fucking door! It's like... Oh, shit. How was I supposed to know this was a door? That's a wall, is it not? Are you fucking serious? I actually hate this game so much. Open the wall. Like, fuck off. That is so fucking stupid. It's a wall. It looks like a fucking wall. No, it's not glasses. That didn't look like a wall. That did not look like a wall. It just didn't. There was no wall there. Oh my fucking god. Like, that has actually pissed me off so much. I'm so angry right now. I swear I've been up there before. The fuck is this glop emote? Oh, it made like 2 seconds. It's really bad. Which one? Which one? Which one? Look, that's my face, but it doesn't really look like it. It's really, really bad. Like, maybe I should have taken a new picture for that one, I think. I can redo it. Wait, am I up? Oh, look, dead giant crotch. Oh, the fine mage. Hello there. Hello. You're not in the Discord, are you? You should join it. Oh my god, I feel like such an entrepreneur when I say stuff like that. Wait, I can equip this. Radons. Why can't I fucking equip it? Oh, I have to be out of grace, do I? Hello, I am. Wait, what's your name in the Discord? Or did you join recently? Oh, same as here. Wait, hang on. There's no way. Were you the person who was telling me to get a new Great Rune on TikTok? No, I don't think you were. I mean, it would be funny if you were. let's go back to... Shit, which one was it? Was it Great Bridge? I think it was, right? I'm stuck on the dog now. Yeah, here it is. He is horrible to fight. Like, he's like a Margot. If he had like bestial instincts. Like if Margot had 4 fucking legs. It's horrible. It's really fucking hard. He's so fast. Can't do it. Let me see. Like, I'd like to level up. I did lose a lot of fucking runes before though. Probably shouldn't have done that. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have fucking done that. I need to change my great rune. I don't know how to do it. Oh! Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. But does it only work if I use a rune arc? I'm gonna start using rune arcs then. If they give me the option to use it in the game, it means it's not OP. And I can do what I want. And no one cares. What the fuck? Did you see that? Did you fucking see? Something just flew past. There's like giant birds. Oh, dragons. Wow. Okay. Rune arc, use. Then equip the volcano pot. Then traverse the mist. Lock onto the enemy, throw the volcano pot at his head. What? God. Rune arc, use. Then equip the volcano pot. Then traverse the mist. Lock onto the enemy, throw the volcano pot at his head. I fell off the map. I just rolled off the map. I'm fucking blood. Oh my god, that's humiliating. Oh my fucking god. changed my gamma. The floor was the same color as the sky. It's not my fault. Oh my fucking god. That's so fucking bad. Okay. Rune arc, use. Then equip the volcano pod. Then traverse the mist. Lock onto the enemy, throw the volcano pod. It's like I did it on purpose! I didn't! Oh my god! Oh my god, I fucking cried. That's so embarrassing. I was like, oh yeah, step 1, use this. Step 2, use this fucking aura farming. I just rolled off the map! This is so fucking cringe! That's so embarrassing. It's so awful. I don't even have an excuse. Ding. Bro, stop throwing rocks at me. Like, you're so fucking cringe. Leave me alone. Leave this guy. Leave him alone! He's my Boing. Oh yeah, I got stuck. Oh, he's taking so much damage though, like I should be able to get him. If I just don't fall off the rock, it should be fine. Oh my god, of course he has a phase 2. Hate furries. Dude, 2 people just said, here we go. Is this Rad Dragon? Is this Rad Dragon?
Become my blade once more.
Is it? I'm asking if it's... Yeah, okay. 3 people say... Bro thinks he's Jesus! You can't do that. You're not allowed to stay motto. You're cooked, give up. Okay, well, I will. As long as I'll get straight into the shower so that we can go and get fucking deep fried pickles. And if they're out of stock, I will cry in front of the waitress. Oh look, the viewers went up by 2. Someone was like, oh my god, they're fighting phase 2. Oh my god, come and watch the retard. Come and watch the retard. They're watching. Maybe I shouldn't be that paranoid, but you know what? Like, that's what I'm imagining. So it's probably what happened. Sometimes I feel like the fucking, what's it called? The Jim Carrey show. The Truman Show. I've never actually watched that movie. Just so you know. Also, why am I taking, like, permanent damage? Who the fuck does this guy think he is? Okay, I'm never fighting this guy. Well, this is the end of the game, isn't it? For me. 10 seconds or less. Yeah, well, I mean, you were right. But, like, I was trying to figure out why I'm taking damage permanently. Oh, I'd rather play Valorant right now. Flying monster attacking you and you're admiring the sculpture on the pillar. I did not fucking do that. Black flame lowers your total HP. Well, I'm just never gonna fight this boss. I like how Ritz was like, oh yeah, he's easy. He is not fucking easy. Valorant's fun with Pumpkin. He's not easy! How is he easy? When he turns into a second phase that just fucking... It just does damage to you, like... He doesn't have that much health. Yeah, well, I guess I'll use my fucking stupid claymore against him then. Well, I probably shouldn't, because it just makes me play worse, but... Ugh, need more pots. He's just fat. Fast. Well, he doesn't just die, does he? Because he didn't. You think I'm allowed to summon him? I have mimicked here, leveled up, don't worry. But I don't believe in using him. I only use him for Rykard because that was the most unfun fucking boss fight I've ever had in any game ever. And I've played Bayonetta, the fucking motorcycle level, which is just the worst shit ever. Pretty sure I beat the shit out of my sister when I was trying to beat that level because it was so annoying. I'm not saying I should have done it. Rykard is like a Splatoon boss. Yeah, exactly. He's stupid. No! No! Okay, shut up. I still haven't beaten the fucking expansion of Splatoon 4, you know. No, 3. Splatoon 4 does not exist. What are you talking about? I'm just making shit up in my head. Like, I'm actually going delusional. Splatoon 4. What the fuck's wrong with me? What? Rykard was not the easiest boss in the game. Your rage bait sucks. Your rage bait is bad. It sucks. You're bad at rage bait. You think Rykard is easier than God, Soldier of Rick, oh fuck, Pickle Rick, or... It took me 5 tries because I didn't know I had to use the weapon in that. You're so cool, oh my god. Oh my god, I bet your dick is so huge. Oh my god. Cringe lord. Like, you realize you're talking to a disabled person and you are trying to flex how good you are at a game. And the thing is, there's a certain type of game that I would just destroy all of you at, so I don't really care. I mean, I don't even play that game anymore and I still would, so. Okay. Thanks, it is big, yeah, I doubt. You send it to Ritz and he'll be the judge since he's a gaylord. I fucking perfectly frame dodged that! Summon Mimic Tearful Soldier of Godric. I did not. Do not say that. That's not even possible either. Wait, does the Soldier of Godric come back later? He even's dead! He just... Well, farted. Godric is the hardest in the game though. No, he's not. It's the final boss, so yeah. I would easily own you on Overwatch. Bro still plays Overwatch and thinks it's a flex. Like, most people don't play that shit anymore. If it was Overwatch 1, we would probably have a great 1v1 arena. It would be very fun. Nowadays, yeah, of course you'll shit on me. I don't play the game. Who are you talking to? Me? Or him? Probably him. Yeah, okay. You're two fucking ego Andys. Yeah, you just argue with each other instead of flaming me so I can focus on the boss. Go on then. You both of you cringe. This is why I need more women in my chat. Because, like, why? I would beat you in this video game. Yeah, okay. How much can you bench? I can shoulder press 10 kilograms sometimes, 5 times, and I don't get tired. Well, I do get tired. Leg press, that's a different story. I don't know why you're kicked of me, like, you're not fit at all. You're gonna scare the hoes. I don't fucking have any hoes. I fucking wish I did. No fucking girls are watching this stream and it's you guys' fault. I mean, there's some. There's a few. Sometimes. Very rare. What if I scar the hoes as well, though? Like, for life. This boss is just actually impossible. Well, now I know why the word Malakath. Shut the fuck up. Heal. Yeah, I'm trying to, like, fucking process what the fuck just happened to me. No, I didn't! Shut up! This boss is fucking cringe. I'm not fighting him. I'm not. I did not. Wait, do you think my Valorant ban is ended on my name? Yeah. Fight the other boss. Huh? You literally walked towards him after phase 2, then no, I was observing! I was being an observer! I was observing what he was fucking doing! Go back down that tower from Grace. Gotta get banned in Thursday. Shut the fuck up. That was a fucking rare occurrence. And it may or may not have been because there was 2 fucking idiots telling me to say slurs in different languages. The thing is, I know that the auto ban method in Valorant only counts for English. You can say whatever you want in other languages. So that means that someone... Okay, I need my glasses. I need my glasses. I need my glasses. Why is there a hole there? Weemon, you fucking hate me. You fucking hate me and you hate women and you hate me. You're fucking evil. Don't bother with the other boss. It takes 1 minute to get to the fight each time. Well, kind of takes that long for... Okay, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Well, how fast are seconds supposed to be? You won't even find the other boss. Why? Are you sure I can't fly in the tornado? Yeah, it's supposed to last 1 second. Well, what kind of seconds are these? Okay, so how long is a second for you? Send a voice message in the Discord. Of you going, for a second. So that I know how long a second is. Because, honestly, I'm not sure. I'm the kind of person who says, oh yeah, I'll be there in 5 minutes, and then I won't show up for like 30. Not my fault. Do the minute tests. Wait, for real? Is that a thing? That sounds fucking based. Let me do that. Yeah, but what if I fail miserably? Uh, you're gonna have to link me it, because I don't find it. You have to count to a minute, and it tells you how close you get. Like, I bet nobody knows what that is other than you. I've never even heard of that. Yeah, Ritz used to just count for fun when he was a kid because his parents didn't buy him a DS until he was like 11. Very sad. Pray for this man. Okay, I'm gonna... Let me open this. What? Don't... I hate that you clipped that. It does not look like there's a hole there. It just looks like the same color as the floor. On my fucking thing anyway. Window capture. Just a minute. Okay. Press space to begin. Huh? Oops! No! Shut up! No! I don't... No! No! I didn't... Okay, shit! No, I need to restart. Okay, one. Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, no, they're not. 22, 23, 24, 26, 27, 29, 30, 32, 31, 33, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 43, 44, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What? I missed. She's having a boss fight with her mind. That's what it felt like. I had like a counter in my mind, and I had a counter in my voice. That's not the bottom 5%. That's a 60% error. That means I'm in the top 40%. No? If I'm in 60% error, that means I'm in the top 40%. That means you got it wrong by 60%. That means I got it right by 40%. Right? Look at the graph. You think I understand this graph? I don't understand this graph. Let me try again. Okay, I'll get it this time. Okay, I'm gonna count. 12, 46, 47, 48. Ah, look at it! Look, look, look! Oh, so fucking good. Oh, yeah. Look at it. Minus 5%. And you know what that means? That means I'm in the top 95%. Wait, no. That means I'm in the top 5%. Wait, you got 57! Oh my god, we got like the same, and you're like, dude, you don't understand. Ritz told me that when he was a kid, he would be like, I'm bored in the car with his parents, and they'd be like, oh yeah, count down from 2000, and he would actually fucking do it because he didn't have a DS. Like, he would actually just fucking do it. And like, if you told me you used to just count down in your head. You told me you used to just count. You told me you used to count down from massive numbers. You told me that. You've told me this in the past. Unless you were lying. I'm not making random shit up. I'm gonna come into your room. To go to sleep. Yeah, but you still did it. And like, you count down from 500. No, you told me you would count down from like way higher than that. You used to eat the cars on the road. Why are you question marking him? You're just jealous. Anyway, the pickles are calling me, and I'm never gonna fight this boss, by the way. This boss is gonna fucking kill me. Anyway, how bad was the first one? Like, I got it in like 90 seconds. That's really bad, isn't it? 36 seconds off. Got it wrong by 60%. That is quite bad, isn't it? Bpmega.me. What is this? BPM guesser. Yeah, no, fuck that. I'm not gonna do that. Not gonna do that when I'm this upset. Like, I'm so angry right now. I'm not doing that. Should I try one more time? Okay, I'm gonna try 1 or 2 more times the boss, and then I'm gonna go take a shower, okay? KK. Oh my god. Hello. I don't want to fight this boss anymore. I don't like Elden Ring anymore. I hate it now. Do you know what I want? Do you know what I want? I want deep fried pickles. Cheese. I'm so hungry. Quick shower. No, I didn't take a shower. That's not what I was. I needed. I took a piss, and then also like I kind of need to shit as well. So you know. Wasn't able to, unfortunately, but you know. It is what it is. Look, I'm gonna try this boss one more time. If I die in second phase again, it's just gonna have to be another fucking Mog situation where it takes me like 3 weeks to beat him. I honestly feel like Melania might be easier. Okay, that might be completely delusional. Because I know how hard Melania is. When is Ritzman gonna happen? What the fuck are you talking about, Ritzman? Oh! Oh! No, we were... I don't think he had 69 at the end of his name to match with me. That was just because it's like, it was the time of, you know, it was the time. It was like 2016, 17, everybody had 69 at the end of their names, you know? It wasn't anything to do with that. I think before that his name may or may not have been named Jeff MC69 or something like that. So like, oh my god, this motherfucker is hard enough in first phase and then he turns into a Power Ranger in his second phase. I can't beat him. I can't. Anyway, it's only Min because of Pikmin. Pikmin, you know? Pikmin! I should play Pikmin on stream. But unfortunately, the people who like Pikmin are very, like, wholesome, and a lot of them are quite young. And I think if they watched me play Pikmin, and they watched me call the yellow Pikmin in particular retarded and say that the yellow Pikmin are the worst ones, I think they might get very upset and cancel me. So... it's not my fault. The yellow Pikmin are the worst ones. Like, they always fucking trip over and fucking die. They are the stupidest Pikmin. They're the worst ones. Okay, one more try and then get a shower. Take a shower. This guy's AIDS though. This is so horrible. Rayman. No. Not Rayman. I remember I had a Rayman DS game and I got... yeah, no, fuck this. Like, fuck this game, he's horrible. He's horrible. This is the worst boss so far. Should I go beat the shit out of him in his fucking, like, house? Like, you know what? I might go do that, actually. I'm gonna go do that. I'm just so pissed off. I'm gonna go do it. Lol. Let's go find him. I'm gonna fucking kill him. Wait, I don't lose anything if I kill him right now, right? Well, hope not. Hey, you just beat the shit out of me. Fuck you. Oh no, he has the same moveset! He's so quick! Double heal, triple heal! Got him. I hope I get runes for this. Shit. No, he's gonna kill me! Oh no! Like, stop aura farming, like, chill the fuck out, no one cares. Okay? No one gives a fuck. No, you one hit. I shouldn't speak. Okay, well, it's time to take a shower. Fuck! He's horrible! Like, no wonder I can't beat his actual boss. I should have been beating him up ages ago. Does that mean he's gonna be, like, mad at me every time he sees me? From now on, when I go to the place? I hope not. Anyway, see you guys. Might be live later, but I doubt it. Go hit the showers. Yeah, I gotta. See ya. Bye.